Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for making it across to the side room and using that link in the chat. Really appreciate you attending this session this afternoon. All of our sessions will be recorded, so please don't worry if you miss any of the sessions today. You will get a recording after the event. I think it's been a fantastic event so far. Lots of great questions and lots of comments in the chat. So for those of you that maybe don't know who I am, maybe you missed the start of the session, my name's Claire Bainen. I'm the Talent Attraction Manager for Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and I'm a huge sufferer of imposter, which is what this session is about. We're going to talk about this very unique invisible barrier we think might be unique to us, but we'll see how we go throughout the session to see if we change how you feel on imposter. As mentioned, we are running a competition today, so love you to share your ideas and takeaways from the session with a picture, a selfie of the Choose to Challenge post, and post it on our social media channels with your chance to win £100 Not on the High Street voucher. So we really love you to kind of get out to your network some of the great ideas and inspirational thoughts from today's session. Okay, so as I said, I am a sufferer of imposter, so I really wanted to lead on this session today. And also, as we were putting the ideas together for the content of the Breaking Barriers event, we really wanted to reach out to our student network. So we did reach out to Enactus UK and Ireland. We reached out to careers teams that we partner with across the country. And we had so many great ideas, but I would say that this came out as one of the biggest topics. So we felt we needed to ensure that we covered it within the event today. Okay, so I'm going to make a start real quick. I just want you to answer a question for me. For those of you listening, I'm going to release a poll. And I just want to really kind of understand our audience, how much you know already. So have you heard of imposter syndrome? And I just want you to take just a few minutes to answer that question for me. So it might take a few minutes, but I'm just going to, wow, okay, see how we get on. So I'm just going to leave it there for you to answer. Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. So 88% so far of the audience, oh, it's shifting a percentage or two, but have actually heard of the term imposter syndrome. And I just find that very interesting because when I was a student, when I was leaving university, I'd never heard of this. And it wasn't probably until I was around about 5 years into my career that someone really brought it to my attention. And from the point of having an awareness of what imposter is, I was able to start to manage the self-doubt, the challenges that were going on within myself. And I find it fantastic. Actually, we have such a large percentage of the audience who have heard of imposter syndrome. So there we go. That is what our results look like. Okay, so the session today is called Don't Create Your Barriers, Break Them. And we're going to spend the next probably around 45 minutes identifying, firstly, whether you've experienced imposter. Maybe you have, but maybe don't recognize it. Help you understand what it actually is. And we're going to get to meet undergraduate of the year winner, Sarah Burke, to tell her story. And I think it's very relatable, especially to our student audience, and talking about her story of imposter. And then we're going to meet our resident expert today, Nazish Barwala from Red Arbor, on methods on how to best challenge this invisible barrier and to answer any questions that you have. So really think about those questions. As mentioned throughout the sessions today, use the Q&A for any specific questions that you have for either Sarah or Naz. So it's really interesting. We've got a student perspective, but we've also got Naz, who is a lot more experience within industry, to talk about a workplace perspective. I'd really like you to go away with at least one action step that you can implement, one idea that you can take away today and think, wow, okay, that's something I've not thought of before. That's something that I'd really like to do and I think will change and help me. So I really hope that you're able to take something away from this session today. Now, I'm not going to refer to imposter syndrome as imposter syndrome. I'm going to refer to it as imposter. And I'll hopefully explain, well, I will explain why later. It might come out within the panel. I think that's a really important point to make. Okay, so let's get started. And before we do kind of move on and we get to speak to our guest today, I want to start by really kind of having you sort of sit back, reflect, and answer some of these questions that I have coming up for you. So I really want you to think back and think of really that internal thinking that you might have today, which I think is really important as we go through this session. Now, as I said, as a student, I'd never heard of imposter, but I certainly want you to be thinking about some of these questions. Okay, so have you ever, in your experience to date, been in a situation where you felt you don't belong? So maybe it was your time at university, maybe you feel that you don't deserve to be at university or in a current role that you have. Do you sometimes worry you're not as smart as everyone thinks you are, and at some point you're going to get caught out? Have you ever thought that way? When you're recognized for your achievements, do you kind of think, well, it wasn't me, it was nothing? You just kind of really downplay it and say, nah, it was nothing really, it's just one of those things, I got lucky. What about if someone does recognize you and says, well done, you did a great job? How does that make you feel? Does it make you feel uncomfortable? And actually, would you rather hear about what you didn't do well? Would you rather hear about what you didn't achieve or what you could have done better? And do you just focus purely on what you didn't do? Really interesting to really kind of share your story there. When you write an essay or an assignment or a project, do you just look at it over and over again and think, I'm not sure if this is right? Spend time tweaking it, changing it, doubting it, and maybe even questioning if you're on the right path at all. This is your internal thinking, and this is something that can certainly hold you back. You may want to apply for that dream role. You look at the competencies, and maybe you hit 8 out of the 10, and you focus on those 2 that you don't meet, and then don't apply. Well, actually, there's a lot of studies to suggest that men might look out and look at that same job and fit 6 out of the 10 competencies, but will still put their name in the hat. There's a definite difference. So how do we get you to lean in and lean forward and put in for those opportunities? I also want you to think about how you present yourself to others, what you say. So imposter is about that internal self-doubt, but does it come out in your language? Do you say, I was lucky? Do you say it wasn't anything really? And how is that then perceived by everyone around you? Do they then start to believe it? And therefore you're doing yourself a huge disservice. If you can relate to any of these questions that I've covered, then this is certainly the right session for you today. So I've just shared a couple of definitions with you in terms of what is imposter, and I pulled these out because I thought these were really very relevant and I certainly could relate to them. So the first one is the fear of others judging us the way we judge ourselves. We are our worst critic, but then to add on the fact that somebody else out there is also judging you as much, if not more, adds that double pressure. The feeling that your achievements are not real or that you don't deserve that praise or success, that constant worrying is just so hard. And I think the next slide really does a nice job at illustrating what I'm talking about. So on the left is probably how you feel. And on the right is actually reality. And we'll cover that transition to get from the left to the right, because actually in reality, it's very different to your internal thoughts. So I started my career on the graduate management training program at Enterprise 18 years ago. I started with a peer group. I progressed through the training folder, did my management qualification in about 10 months. And then I got promoted 5 days later to an assistant manager. And then from that point, I was then promoted to branch manager. And then I moved into a development role and then into a HR manager role. And that was 5 years into my career at Enterprise. From there, I made some lateral moves. I really wanted to kind of develop in operational roles and HR roles. So I actually took a bit of a lattice approach to my career and I moved around the company. I'd never applied for a job that I'd not got. And to this day, 18 years with the company, I haven't gone for a job I've not got, but yet I feel as if I don't always deserve to be here. I feel that maybe it's because I interviewed really well and someone's going to find out, someone's going to find me out that I'm not deserving of the role that I'm in. And sometimes I feel that I'm always constantly having to justify that I've been given the role for a reason. I need to work so hard to justify that my line manager actually feels that they've deservedly given me this job, or they're happy they've given me this job and don't actually secretly think, gosh, I wish I should have given that job to somebody else. So that's my imposter. It's such a common yet widespread, misunderstood, invisible barrier, really complex form of self-deception. It can undermine even the most confident of people. And I'm pretty confident. I'm speaking to all of you today. I wasn't confident when I started out, but I'm certainly pretty confident now. So it's really important to establish that confidence and imposter are quite different. I'm a confident person, but struggle with imposter. So imposter can really inhibit your productivity as a student. Going into the world of work, you feel isolated. Certainly you can feel burnout, and certainly within the last 12 months in the times of COVID, it's even exacerbated the situation. You know, for me, I'm now working from home. I used to work in a very busy office, and not being able to get that constant reassurance that you're on the right path, you're doing the right thing, everything's okay, is just that much harder because, you know, I'm not in a room with working in an office with other people. So I just wanted to start off the session just to give you some opportunity to think about you and your feelings, but I do now want to introduce you, and I'm very excited to say we have Sarah Burke with us, who is Total Jobs Undergraduate of the Year 2020, and Sarah would like to just spend some time just telling us her story. So welcome, Sarah.
Thanks a lot, Claire. Yeah, hi, I'm Sarah, and I'm currently a second-year business management student at the University of Leeds. I'm obviously delighted to be here today to talk about my experiences of imposter as a current university student, which some of you might be able to relate to already, or it may be something that you experience later on in life. My link to Enterprise, as Claire already mentioned, is that I won the Target Jobs Management Undergraduate of the Year competition last year, which was a mammoth achievement for me, but still one that at times I've justified by either being lucky or it being by chance, instead of feeling fully deserving of it. And whilst outwardly, I'd also say that I'm a very confident person throughout various stages of the competition, especially during the assessment center process. I definitely had feelings of self-doubt creeping in, or as if I was a fly on the wall and that I'd somehow fallen through the net during the application process, and then sat among these amazingly talented people that had bags of impressive work experience and leadership experience. And then there was me, who I'd worked in a supermarket and done things throughout school taken a gap year, but it just felt as if everyone else's experience or expertise was miles ahead of my own. And so imposter for me was that feeling that I was going to be called out at any point as being a fraud in this scenario, and that fear that I wouldn't live up to the expectations. And it can be a really debilitating thing because it can lead to obsessing over your work to the nth degree, or downplaying your own knowledge, skills, and talents, even in cases where you do have that knowledge or that you are particularly skilled at something. And for me, especially, it was attributing my success to either being lucky or it being a fluke. And starting out at university or entering a new role in the workplace can also be triggers for imposter. And there have been various instances throughout my life so far where this was the case. So for me, I didn't get my place at uni the conventional route. I missed out on getting my grades, but I'd applied for deferred entry. And so basically I had to beg my way onto the management course, as I'd already planned my gap year and I really wanted to avoid resitting my exams. So whilst I was elated that I'd been able to get onto a business course at my first choice uni, due to the fact that I hadn't made the grades in the first place, I felt like I was on the back foot from the beginning. And I now majorly attribute that feeling to being an imposter or a fraud. For me, at times, I've tried to use those feelings to fuel my motivation to achieve, and applying for the Management Undergraduate of the Year competition was a major aspect of this. But I think what's really reassuring is that imposter is something that so many very successful people experience. And so it shouldn't hinder your success or your achievements. For me, putting myself in various foreign scenarios or environments where imposter might creep in and being able to be quite open and transparent about it. Like during my interview at the assessment center, I told my interviewer that I had these feelings, and she was able to share that she had various experiences of imposter too, which enabled me to negotiate those feelings better. I've also gained some great advice to carry around your own little brag book or your own brag file of your achievements and successes, which you can relate back to and be reminded of several instances where you've done something great or something to be proud of, which shows your value and your worth in whatever scenario you might find yourself in, because you've always got something interesting, valuable, and worthwhile that's different to bring to the table, whichever situation you find yourself in. So yeah, that's basically my story of imposter and my experiences so far.